I was diagnosed 22 years ago with RRP, and I really didn't know a lot about it. The first signs that I noticed was just a little raspiness in my voice. Thought maybe I had allergies. It would get a little worse. And finally, one of the ladies at my office said, "You really need to go get that checked."
What we knew was that he was down to almost a whisper. It was difficult to hear him. He was exhausted. He was a baritone in the chorus. Had a beautiful singing voice. When we first met, I remember him singing to me, and playing the piano, and to go from having that voice to not being able to speak, it was very difficult.
I knew my voice was not very strong, and the doctor told me I needed to have surgery. RRP is a papilloma, a viral growth on the vocal cords that's reoccurring. Right now, the only treatment for that is when they grow big enough, you cut them out.
There was no treatment except for keep cutting, keep scarring.
Because they're working on my vocal cords, there's the added risk of laryngospasm, which I did have one of those, and that's you wake up from surgery, your vocal cords spasm and close off your airway and you can't breathe, and they had to reparalyze me, reintubate me, and then bring me out of the anesthesia a second time in hopes that the vocal cords don't close again.
And then as time went on over the years, over the last 20-some years, then I learned, oh, this could get into the lungs.
And that's really bad, because when it goes to the lungs, it's very highly probable that you may die from this.
I didn't really realize it was going to be one surgery right after the other. At one point, it was a surgery almost every 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks.
And then for the last few years, I wouldn't get any improvement at all. By the time I healed from the surgery, the growths were coming back, and so I just never saw improvement. I had resigned myself to, for the rest of my life, I would be having surgeries. I even thought about, and Sheri and I talked about this, when I retire, I can't leave my hometown because that's where my doctors are. And I need contact with the hospital and with my physician because I have a lifelong condition that needs addressing. RRP definitely turned me into a social recluse. I would talk to somebody and we could be shoulder to shoulder, but they couldn't hear me in a room full of people. As a dentist, I work wearing masks all the time, and it got to the point where patients couldn't hear me.
The lowest point I recall so vividly, came home one day and he had a karaoke machine in his hand. And I said, "Who gave it to you?" And he said, "A patient of mine. They thought it would help me so that they could hear me by giving me this karaoke machine." And he teared up because that was such a low point.
If I was talking to somebody that had just been diagnosed with RRP, the first thing I would tell them is, you're not alone. There are people out there with this disease. You may not have met them yet, but they're out there. I would encourage them to reach out to the RRP Foundation. They have an excellent website with lots of resources, because my experience was, for a very long time, I thought I was the only one out there.